Hi, everybody. Greetings from New Orleans, 78 degrees Fahrenheit here, um, to rub it in. I'm going to be reading from The Charm and the Dread, which is the book that is going to be out November 30th of this year. And it was mainly written in summer of 2020. And this first piece is called Homo Americanus, Freeform Hollerin' at the Lit Conference in Syllabics. 1. No, we don't want you to breathe in, then out. No need to stand up, stretch out, twirl your wrists. Most assuredly, no incantations are being asked of you, not a single word. Know what, Jack, Jill? Scrap the 4 directions. Your identities and ours beside yours, on a coat rack at the door, quite comfy. How much whacking can your piñata take? Yes, you stand on stolen land, you may now, zoons, methinks my station merits the ploy, which under these conditions is public, that you're planted on private property. We do acknowledge that. The conditions, the 1,000 directions not to take after this after party we call anarcho tyranny uber alles, or simply the finance oligarchy. Please be modest, slithering on the ground, scooping up treats, subtracting from the whole our allotments of failed liberal schemes coming into view as we splinter up. 2. Who won the prize? The prize among prizes. A prize of a prize, you might say, a win over one more prize to win a prize won. Surprise! There's no prize for that, or for this. Piñata sticks swung blindly all at once is more to the point, bloody point, hobbling, stumbling onto the arena of culture. But what's at a distance tracking it all, or in close? Poetics as detainee marks it a fugitive in mind and gut. We were just about to jump out of here as the smoking debris began to cool before the dawn of more centrist hook'em. But here we are, herding piss-poor students into the bare halls of career poet. There's exactly 5 things a prize can do. 1, it bestow with wings to wingless works. 2, it staunches today's systemic wounds. 3, perchance it payeth the rent. Golly. 4, it groweth wings on the fugitive. 5, it clippeth the fugitive's new wings. 3, strategies, recalibrating, tactics, kind of works, kind of what might not, is you. Games abound this side of the barricades. One of them is self, as designed by you. But here's another piñata at hand, popped out from nowhere, perplexing, tempting. Fellow insurrectionists, lend an ear. Identity thinking stalls, hard reset. And bullhorn this all night long, publicly. Old universalisms pen us in, where we meant to run with a new story. New stories reject catastrophizing, refuse a foregone tragicomedy, stage an alternative futurity, identity thinking stills, hard reset. Blindfolded, Homo Americanus, grab this trusty stick, grip it mightily, raise it high, and on the downswing, crack it. Now the bards scramble, now the bards bag up scraps of self, whose purpose they know not what, though it's arousing, all this newfound pep. This next one is called Betimes, a rhapsody for activists. Betimes you stall, and by stalling, rocket. Betimes you're a dead-board worker. Betimes a devoted worker without deep purpose. Betimes you're a thrill-seeking slacker. Betimes a genius co-worker without peers. You chose this. You chose dialectical wreck, sensational. You pounced toward direct, intense unknown. You've sloughed off crooked dick nationalism. You've blown up indolence, on some occasions eloquence. Who can Velcro on a plasticized red wig when you want it? Who can supply a bronze lion future beast of victory? Betimes you're a pre-pounce poet posing as pouncer. Betimes you're a post-pounce as twitchy twitch, not whatever, never whatever, but this. You're a spectral socialist, savage. You're a spectral socialist, civilizer. You're a spectral socialist, dirt cloud on diamond. Who can futurize the people without the trademark? Who enacts fire canister hierarchical reform? Betimes you carouse, and by carousing, arouse. Betimes you're a hella, as y'all say, cat with hiss and claws. Betimes you're a devoted love slamming you to the ground. Did you really choose this gem? Art thou chosen? Are you ascending now towards some free-floating dome in the sky? Have you handily sloughed off sultry nationalism? Betimes, nationalisms offer services, left or right. Betimes, intranationalisms show a way out for a fee. Who can hyperspatialize the people without coordinates? Who enacts supersymmetrical justice reform? You're a spectral socialist, bit actor. You're a spectral socialist, stunt double. You're a spectral socialist, diamond flecked on demon dung. Betimes you rocket, and by rocketing, stall. Betimes you stall, and by stalling, rocket. And this is two sonnets. Insurrectionary. The day-to-day existence of people, if that doesn't change, then what is all this? These protests, these stances, rage, pieties, passionate words, eloquent poetry. What's the use of any of it today if tomorrow and many days to come aren't shaped differently, aren't lived differently? Which calls the question, what do people want? What do they want? Not just what they don't want. Let's list it. Let's study the list closely. And before these items are pinned to life, let's have that conversation. What is life? What kinds of life forms are we, all of us? And what's best for each and everyone here? And this sonnet is called Flesh. It's imperative we keep flesh intact. We don't want perforations, abrasions, or undue irritations marring it. We also want to guard coloration of whatever hue hones to its nature. The smallest capillaries must breathe free. When a breeze fans it, we love the perk up. When flesh grazes it, we love the perk up, the heat or cold of curiosity. It's imperative we keep flesh intact. Painters, if they ever make the comeback, might plumb flesh, flush out commonality. Poets, if they ever make the comeback, might suture flesh, restore integrity. This next one is called Männerbunde, and Männerbunde in German means men's club, and these clubs were very existed during the Weimar period and were subsequently taken over by the National Socialists. Männerbunde. Guns, shedfuls of them, you'll see, will not be the deciding factor in the big shift towards hemispheric autarky. No amount of rounds and clips hoarded in safes will rewrite labor laws that integrate Canadian, American, and Mexican biopower around a vision of itself, protective economically, expansive culturally, interposed maps of watersheds, routes of produce, conduits of clean energy, lasered in on healthy work and stable housing. The big shift doesn't require belly-crawling sharpshooters, grown boy camps, Männerbunde, sing-alongs pining after dreams of becoming sovereign when all's entangled already, except not formally and equitably, set to a higher order, resource-conscious, confident future, commandeering hemispheres, collective wealth, material and psychic, brave projection, bulwark against this anarcho-tyranny, faux nationalism, yacht excursion for winners of rigged outcomes, swamp monsters becoming great again, promoting shedfuls of ammo, camo, grown-up boy lingerie, boudoir, Männerbunde, posing on towering trucks, performing sovereign, when all's entangled already, but on a wobbly base, with sideshows, gun shows, crouching, cowering, last gasps of sovereign kings, every man a serf, owning nothing, not mineral deposits, not beds of technology, not downstream planning, educational cargo, material and psychic, oblivious to rising forces, integrated, autarkic, prosperous homelands to thrive in, where crotch, grasping, gun-toting, enfeebled copes flicker out year by year as hemispheric power looks outward with straight backs towards other autarkic regions, working on integration of a higher order, looking outwards, mindfully negotiating globes, collective wealth, material and psychic, and yeah, a few museums of nation states and even kinky cosplay might be entertaining on occasion to remind us of the age of anarcho-tyranny and its camo lingerie butlers on a leash, Mannerbunda. This next one is called The Revolution. Gray birds made of marble falling from the sky. Swamp oaks taking 2 steps forward if you look closely. Levee waters level rising exactly by 4 feet. New bridges made of glass suddenly appear over urban canals. Storefront signages swapping places, making sense. Picnics 2 feet below sea level in the thousands. Girls with brown eyes rolling boulders into pyramids of gold. Girls with blue eyes casting steel hooks onto silver gates. Girls with green eyes forming a field of grass to skip on. Red, chromed out chopper cruising the streets, no rider. Purple sun painting 12 windows onto local birthing center. Hell, the word, the concept, scaring no children at this hour. Heaven, the word, the concept, wood cube and dank attic rotting. 2-minute clip of brawny man battling an alligator in loop mode. 1-minute clip of young boy twirling brawny man in loop mode. Sundown, western breeze fanning ice tower evaporations. Blank stare of a statue in an iron barge seaward bound. Bats across a full moon portrait in a trash bin flaming. Canoe made of pure sugar gliding over asphalt streets at midnight. 30-second clip of diamond tooth baby in loop mode. Bayou bugs onto 4th generation since yesterday morning. Yellow birds made of polyurethane come to a consensus. 15-second clip of upside down city skyline. Justice, the word, the vision in an orange cloud distending, glowing. 7.5-second clip of pencil frolicking on white paper. 400-foot mound of multicolored masks and panties toppling. Deceased couple with brass canes crossing glass bridge at dawn. Traffic barricades snapping again if you take a glance. This one's called Brown Lives. Brown lives, the phrase, as is, don't matter in Mexico. The shades are endless. Where draw the line? You'd go quite mad. What matters in Mexico is lana, cold cash. How much, how far, the flow, what things, what folks you gather around you. Of course, colorism thrives in Mexico, weighs in, tips scales, but saying and insisting brown lives, the phrase, as is sacred, blurry, happy talk, won't supply the flow, the things, the folks you gather around you. The line, when drawn, would shift yearly, monthly. The haggle would matter to oligarchs a lot. The haggle would matter to academia even more. Brown lives, whole departments might thrive, service lines, blurring oligarchs' long game. Still though, colorism thrives in Mexico. It hurts, it works for some, for sure. Some families have winners and losers. It's important to confront colorism frankly. But lana, go see, take in, don't flinch, draws lines on top, down below, both sides, makes box in Mexico. Boxes matter, not lines that shift weekly, daily. You'd go quite mad, demarking where, jumping back, jumping over, vying to drag shit here to there and back, stuck in a box in Mexico, decaled with Brown Lives Matter merch, donated by happy oligarchs of oil, of telecom, of finance, beachfront empires, foreground to hillside slums, background to nervous middlings frozen between, undecided about lines, boxes, which matter and why, earning zeal, spending zeal to audit. Mexico lindo is necessary. The peso plunging today, 10%. This one's called Write the City. What's the point of New York City? Or for that matter, or Calgary? Or any city on a hill? Or hidden far beneath the waves? Any city at any time, any city planned or dreamt of? What's the point of males and females? What's the rub with transportation, movement of foodstuffs, or the arts, distribution of new pleasures, or the same old ones year by year, making for a steady story? What's the point of stock characters, emotions bundled or spread out, arguments over arguments, escapes from argumentation, fantastical propositions, promises to extend a hand? What's the point of scheduling things all in tandem or at random, through avenues, streets, and alleys, secrets secreted forever, or spilled onto morning pavement, draining into holes seaward bound? What's the point of that lingerie, that tie's length and width and color, fraying from overuse or disuse, weighing X amount per square ton, legs, rubber, arms, cotton, eyes, steel? What point in writing the city? This one is called Thing and Thang. Is the US a nation or just an economic platform? Because a nation is or can be an expression of its people. Platforms, as you know, support a ton of apps, but not all, and often not many at all. Nations, of course, excel at spinning origin stories that somewhat stick, actually too often stick, too long. These days, folks are sick of platforms. They feel, but more than that, know the grift and graft. But also, folks can't, won't booty hop for nation, not for the past nor future, and for damn sure not now. All right, some are nation after school drama types, never miss a chance to flame in public, funk out in private. Others are pure platform, all-day trendsetters, Brahmins actually, prancing like Jack and Jill nobodies. Yet others, in idealist mode, strain to marry the two, nation thing and platform thing, triangle into circle slot. Problem is, Global Bobo's diet consists of broken idols, shards of meritocracies, the bootstrapped scraps. Platform Fang, overamped, promises a commonwealth of continuous profile updates, hexagons into pentagonal slots. Nation Thing, flustered, promises to calm anxieties, save selves from intermixing in golden wheat fields swaying. Global Bobo, or if you prefer, Bobo Globo, plays it safe, defers to neither thing nor thang, but tabulates and waits. GB, might well be progressive or regressive. No one can say for now. Poltergeist inside us. And this last poem is called Jumpstart Poems. I wonder too if jumpstart poems are worth it. I mean, poems meant to get at existential being itself for a moment, brief moment, stripped of social causality, not having to take a publicly recognizable position, not having to, massage an affiliation, but instead riffing on what's elementally human, what's fundamentally common between folks instead of about folks, as proclaimed by folks. Jumpstart poetry that pivots around a few key words, words that, for the moment, brief moment, hold the mystery, the puzzle of being in time on this planet, or not even being on this planet, but wanting to. I wonder if jumpstart poems are a cop-out or a necessary moment, brief moment, against cop-out, or maybe something in between, stuck, broken. I wonder if folks are almost always in between, copping out, not copping out, copping out, not copping out, but play it like they're one or the other, certain. I wonder if jumpstart poems even exist, and if they don't, whether they should exist. Poems that pivot around certain words like being, folks, mystery, pivot. And if they do exist, whether they wonder themselves about poems that wonder about not wondering, fending off the hounds of lassitude, indolence, and surrender. Just long enough for a jumpstart poem to start it all. Thank you. That's it. I can't hear you.
On the microphone.
Yeah, it's for you, Ramon. Turn your mic on.
Well, I'd like to introduce Sara Uribe. She's a poet from Mexican origin. She was born in Mexico in 1978. She has a master's in modern literature from the Universidad Iberoamericana. Her recent poetry collections include Un Montón de Escritura para Nada, the Dharma Books, publishing in 2019, Antígona González, El Quinqué, Cooperativa Editorial y Sur, 2019, and Abroche su cinturón mientras esté sentado, Filo de Caballos, 2017. She has been published in journals and anthologies in Mexico, Peru, Spain, the United Kingdom, Canada, and the US. Her work has been translated in English, Portuguese, German, and French. She has facilitated workshops on, among other subjects, violence, ethics, and the body in contemporary writing and contemporary poetic experimentation and the stakes of destabilization. She has been granted a scholarship by the Fondo Nacional para la Cultura y las Artes and has won the Premio Nacional de Poesía Tijuana, as well as the Premio Nacional de Poesía Clemente López Trujillo. She is currently completing a doctorate in modern literature. Sara, adelante.
Gracias, I'm happy to be here. Voy a leer de mi libro Antígona González. Instrucciones para contar muertos. 1. Las fechas, como los nombres, son lo más importante. El nombre por encima del calibre de las balas. 2. Sentarse frente a un monitor, buscar la nota roja de todos los periódicos en línea, mantener la memoria de quienes han muerto. 3. Contar inocentes y culpables, sicarios, niños, militares, civiles, presidentes municipales, migrantes, vendedores, secuestradores, policías. Contarlos a todos. Nombrarlos a todos para decir, este cuerpo podría ser el mío, el cuerpo de uno de los míos, para no olvidar que todos los cuerpos sin nombre son nuestros cuerpos perdidos. Me llamo Antígona González y busco entre los muertos el cadáver de mi hermano.
First, the date, like the names, are the most important. The names, even more than the caliber of the bullets. Second, sit in front of a monitor. Search out the crime news from all the newspapers online. Preserve the memory of those who have died. Third, count both innocent and guilty killers, children, soldiers, civilians, mayors, migrants, vendors, kidnappers, police. Count them all. Name them all so as to say, this body could be mine, the body of one of my own, so as not to forget that all the bodies without names are our lost bodies. My name is Antigona Gonzalez, and I am searching among the dead for the corpse of my brother.
Soy Sandra Muñoz, vivo en Tampico, Tamaulipas, y quiero saber dónde están los cuerpos que faltan. Que pare ya el extravío. Quiero el descanso de los que buscan y el de los que no han sido encontrados. Quiero nombrar las voces de las historias que ocurren aquí.
I am Sandra Muñoz. I live in Tampico, Tamaulipas, and I want to know where the missing bodies are, for all those lost to appear. I want rest for those who are searching and for those who have not been found. I want to name the voices behind the stories that take place here.
¿Quién es Antígona dentro de esta escena y qué vamos a hacer con sus palabras? ¿Quién es Antígona González y qué vamos a hacer con todas las demás Antígonas? No quería ser una Antígona, pero me tocó.
Who then is Antigone within such a scene, and what are we to take of her words? Who is Antigona González, and what are we going to do with all the other Antigones? I didn't want to be an Antigone, but it happened to me.
No querían decirme nada. Tadeo no aparece. No querían decirme nada. Un vaso resbalando de una mano húmeda, estrépito de cristales, el nudo en el vientre, el nudo y la náusea, el nudo, pequeñas gotas de sangre fresca sobre los mosaicos. Un vaso roto ya no es un vaso. Eso pensé, eso les dije. ¿Qué es lo que murmuran? ¿Por qué todo lo deslizan en voz baja? ¿Qué es lo que están deshaciendo? Te estamos diciendo que Tadeo no aparece. Te estamos diciendo que somos muchos los que hemos perdido a alguien.
They didn't want to tell me anything. Tadeo hasn't appeared. They didn't want to tell me anything. A glass slipped from a wet hand, shattering shards. The knot in the stomach, the knot a nausea, the knot small drops of fresh blood on tiles. A broken glass is no longer a glass. That's what I thought. That's what I told them. What are they murmuring? Why do they mutter everything under their breath? What are they erasing? We're telling you that Tadeo has not appeared. We're telling you that there are a lot of us who have lost someone.
No querían decirme nada, querían huir de la ciudad, por eso muchas casas están abandonadas. Las puertas tienen candados, pero adentro aún hay muebles, porque en la huida sus habitantes, ¿ves la ironía, Tadeo? Ellos solo quieren desvanecerse y que los últimos ojos que te vieron no los miren.
They didn't want to tell me anything. They wanted to escape from the city. That's why so many homes are abandoned. There are locks on the doors, but inside there is still furniture because of their way out, the people who live there. Do you see the irony, Tadeo? They just want to vanish. And for the last eyes that saw you, not to watch them.
Un vaso roto, algo que ya no está, que ya no existe, que se halla en paradero ignorado, sin que se sepa si vive, sin que se sepa. Yo me quedé pensando en el verbo desaparecer. Ellos dijeron, Tadeo no aparece, y yo pensé en el mago que iba a nuestra primaria, en Tadeo tras la celosía mirando a hurtadillas, porque nuestra madre no le alcanzaba para darnos los 5 pesos de la función. Desaparecer siempre fue para mí un acto de prestidigitadores. Alguien desaparecía algo y luego lo volvía a aparecer. Un acto simple.
A broken glass. something that no longer is, that no longer exists, that is found in unidentified whereabouts with no idea whether still alive, with no idea. I was left thinking about the verb to disappear. They say Tadeo hasn't appeared, and I thought of the magician who would come to our elementary school, of Tadeo sneaking behind the lattice to watch because of our mother couldn't come up with the 5 pesos for the show. For me, disappearing was always an illusionist act. Someone made something disappear and then made it appear again. A simple act.
Pero ni rastro de fiera ni de perros que te hubieran arrastrado para destrozarte. Donde antes tú, ahora el vacío. Nadie llamó para pedir rescate o amedrentarnos. Nadie dijo una sola palabra, como si quisieran deshacerte aún más en el silencio. Yo les hubiera agradecido que a donde se lo hubieran llevado, mejor lo hubieran dejado muerto, porque al menos sabría yo dónde quedó, dónde llorarle, dónde rezar. A lo mejor ya me hubiera resignado.
But no sign of any wild beast or any dog that had come and torn your body. Where you were before, now empty space. No one called to ask for a ransom or to threaten us. No one said a single word, as if they sought to erase you even more in silence. I'd be grateful just to know where they'd taken him. I'd be better if they'd left him dead, because at least then I've known where he ended up, where to cry for him, where to pray. I probably would have accepted it by now.
Una mujer intenta narrar la historia de la desaparición de su hermano menor. Este caso no salió en las noticias, no acaparó la atención de ninguna audiencia. Se trata solo de otro hombre que salió de su casa rumbo a la frontera y no se le volvió a ver. Otro hombre que compró un boleto y abordó un autobús. Otro hombre que desde la ventanilla dijo adiós a sus hijos, y luego esa imagen se convirtió en lo único que un par de niños podrá registrar en su memoria cuando piensen en la última vez que vieron a su padre.
A woman attempts to tell the story of her younger brother's disappearance. This case wasn't on the news. It never merited a hearing. It's just another man who left his house and headed to the border, never to be seen again. Another man who bought a ticket and boarded a bus. Another man who waved goodbye to his children from the window, and then that image became the only thing a couple of kids will remember when they think about the last time they saw their father.
Antígona Vélez le fue encargada a Leopoldo Marechal por José María Unsay, director del Teatro Cervantes, a principios de 1951. El único original mecanografiado le fue entregado a la protagonista, Fanny Navarro, quien lo perdió en un viaje a Mar del Plata. La interpretación de Antígona sufre una radical alteración en Latinoamérica, en donde Polinices es identificado con los marginados y desaparecidos. Escrita como un largo poema en verso libre, el texto contiene innumerables fragmentos de letras de tango que en su distorsión y alteración, plena de nuevos significados y entrecruzamientos, Polinices es identificado con los marginados y desaparecidos. En su distorsión y alteración, Polinices es Tadeo.
Early in the year 1951, José María Unsay, the director of the Teatro Cervantes, commissioned Leopoldo Marechal to write Antígona Vélez. The only type original was given to the lead actor, Fanny Navarro, who lost it on a trip to Mar del Plata. The interpretation of Antígona is radically altered in Latin America. Polinices is identified with the marginalized and disappeared. Written as a long poem in free verse, the text contains innumerable fragments from tango lyrics, which distorted and altered, full of new meaning and interweavings. Distorted and altered, Polinices is identified with the marginalized and disappeared. Distorted and altered, Polinices is Tadeo.
No querían decirme nada, como si al nombrar tu ausencia todo tuviera mayor solidez, como si callarla la volviera menos real. No querían decirme nada porque sabían que iría a buscarte. Sabían que iría a tu casa a interrogar a tu esposa, a reclamarle que no diera aviso de inmediato, que nadie denunciara tu desaparición. Nuestro hermano mayor y tu mujer en la pequeña sala de tu casa, tus hijos jugando fútbol con los vecinos. Nuestro hermano mayor y tu mujer diciéndome que ninguno había acudido a las autoridades, que nadie acudiría, que lo mejor para todos era que nadie acudiera.
They didn't want to tell me anything, as if by naming your absence, everything would become more solid. As if keeping it quiet would make it less real. They didn't want to tell me anything because they knew I would go search for you. They knew I'd go to your house to ask your wife question, to ask why she didn't go to the authorities immediately, why no one reported your disappearance. Our older brother and your wife in your house's tiny living room, your children playing soccer with the neighbors. Our older brother and your wife telling me that no one had gone to the authorities, that nobody would go, that the best thing for everyone was for nobody to go.
Son de los mismos, nos van a matar a todos, Antígona, son de los mismos, aquí no hay ley, son de los mismos, aquí no hay país, son de los mismos, no hagas nada, son de los mismos, piensa en tus sobrinos, son de los mismos, quédate quieta, Antígona, son de los mismos, quédate quieta, no grites, no pienses, no busques, son de los mismos, quédate quieta, Antígona, no persigas lo imposible. Pero, ¿cómo no voy a buscar a mi hermano? Díganmelo ustedes. ¿Cómo no voy a exigir su cuerpo siquiera para enterrarlo? ¿Cómo voy a dormir tranquila pensando que puede estar en un barranco, en un solar baldío, en una brecha?
They're one and the same. They're going to kill us, all of us, Antigona. They're one and the same. There's no law here. They're one and the same. There's no country here. They're one and the same. Don't do anything. They're one and the same. Think of your nephews. They're one and the same. Keep quiet, Antigona. They're one and the same. Keep quiet. Don't shout. Don't think. Don't surge. They're one and the same. Keep quiet, Antigona. Don't go after the impossible. But how could I not search for my brother? Tell me, all of you, how could I not demand his body even if you just to bury it? How could I sleep peacefully, thinking it might be in some ravine, in some abandoned lot, on some back road?
Ellos insisten en que estás vivo porque los enceguece el miedo. Ellos repiten y repiten que vas a aparecer cualquier día de estos, pero cuando callan, los rasga el miedo. Ellos se atreven a argumentar que lo más probable es que te hayas ido con otra mujer, pero los desmienten de su propio miedo. Reprueban que busque tu cadáver y es miedo. Ellos no quieren fotografías ni que sus nombres se publiquen. Yo los entiendo porque tienen miedo. Y yo no los entiendo porque necesito saber dónde estás. Ellos dicen que sin cuerpo no hay delito, yo les digo que sin cuerpo no hay remanso, no hay paz posible para este corazón, para ninguno.
They insist you're alive because they're blinded by fear. They say over and over again, you're going to appear any day now, but when they grow quiet, they're ravaged by fear. They have the audacity to say you probably went off with another woman, but their own fear contradicts that. They disapprove of me searching for your corpse, and it's out of fear. They don't want photograph of or for their names to be published, and I understand them because they're afraid. And I don't understand them because I need to know where you are. They say without a body, there's no crime. I tell them without a body, there's no refuge, no peace possible for my heart, for everyone. For anyone.
La argentina Griselda Gambaro utiliza la figura de Antígona para criticar el gran número de desaparecidos durante la dictadura militar que existió en su país. Antígona Furiosa es un pastiche. Antígona Furiosa es también la indagación sobre quién es el verdadero héroe.
The Argentinian author Griselda Gambaro uses the figure of Antígona to critique the large number of people disappeared during the military dictatorship in her country. Antígona Furiosa is a pastiche. Antígona Furiosa is also an inquiry into the identity of the real hero.
Una mujer presenta una denuncia ante el Ministerio Público por la desaparición de su hermano. En su declaración consta que los hechos no fueron reportados de inmediato por temor a represalias. En su declaración consta que las líneas de autobuses se negaron una y otra vez a dar razón del paradero de su hermano. Una mujer que sale del Ministerio Público es abordada por un hombre que la jala del brazo y le dice, querido, vale más que dejen de chingar. Ustedes síganle, se los va a llevar la chingada.
A woman makes a report of the district attorney at the district attorney's office about her brother's disappearance. In her declaration, she states that the situation wasn't reported immediately due to fear of retaliation. In her declaration, she states that the bus companies repeatedly refused to provide information on her brother's whereabouts. A woman leaving the district attorney's office is approached by a man who pulls her by the arm and whispers in her ear, "You all better stop fucking around, keep doing this, and you'll fucking end up dead."
¿Es posible entender este extraño lugar entre la vida y la muerte? Ese hablar precisamente desde el límite. Una habitante de la frontera, ese extraño lugar. Ella está muerta, pero habla. Ella no tiene lugar, pero reclama uno desde el discurso. ¿Quieres decir que va a seguir aquí sola, hablando en voz alta, muerta, hablando a viva voz para que todos la oigamos?
How do we understand this strange place of being between life and death, of speaking and precisely from what vacillating boundary? A woman living on the border. This strange place, she's dead, yet speaks. She is the one with no place who nevertheless seeks to claim one within speech. Do you mean that she will continue here on her own, speaking aloud, dead, speaking at the top of their voice for all of us to hear?
Rezo para que tu cuerpo ausente no quede impune, para que no quede anónimo. Rezo para tener un sitio a donde ir a llorar. Rezo por los buenos y por ellos, porque si ellos no tienen corazón, yo sí.
I pray for your missing body to be granted justice, for it to be granted a name. I pray I'll have a place to go to cry. I pray for those who are good and for the others, because even if they have no heart, I do.
En su sueño, para llegar a Tebas, la ciudad abismo, tenía que atravesar una estancia llena de grandes vasos de vidrio muy diáfanos que apenas se veían. Estaba obligada a pasar entre ellos sin quebrar ninguno, sin hacerlos temblar. Y así lo hacía, nunca quebró ningún vaso, nunca atravesó el umbral.
In her dream, in order to reach Thebes, in the abysmal city, she had to cross a room full of huge diaphanous glasses that could hardly be seen. She was forced to walk among them without breaking any, without making them tremble. And that's what she did. She never broke a single glass. She never crossed the threshold.
Gracias, thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being here as your voice in English. I apologize for my missteps here and there, but I tell you, it reached home. Thank you very much, Sara.
Thank you, Ramon, gracias.
Thank you both, Ramon and Sara. That was tremendously powerful. Wow. But we do need to keep moving, I'm afraid. And our next reader will be Ian Williams, who was born in Trinidad and grew up in Toronto. He wrote his first poem when he was in grade 7, and he's been writing with a few pauses here and there ever since. His first book of poetry, You Know Who You Are, was a finalist for the Relit Poetry Prize. And his second book of poetry, Personals, was shortlisted for the Griffin. And his third, Word Problems, won the Raymond Souster Prize. His novel, Reproduction, won the Giller Prize. And his short story collection, Not Anyone's Anything, won the Danuta Glebe Award. His recently published book of non-fiction, Disorientation, hasn't won anything yet, but it was a finalist for the Writers' Trust Prize for nonfiction. It's a pretty remarkable run, no matter how you cut it. And although he's certainly read in Ottawa before, this is his first appearance at VERSeFest. So a belated welcome, Ian. We're glad to have you with us.
Thank you, Monty. Thanks for the introduction as well. Hopefully we can meet in Ottawa in person at some point.
Indeed.
Very soon, next year. I really love the idea for this, right? A sort of cross-continental reading from Canada, the US, and Mexico. And it would be good to be in the same room with everyone. So today I'm going to do something that I haven't done before. And I drew inspiration from Diane, who's coming up next. Sara, Ramon, and Rodrigo, thanks for your readings. And so I saw that Diane, her last book, her most recent book, is a collection of sonnets. And I thought, whoa, I haven't thought about sonnets in a couple of months or so. And so today I'm going to read sonnets from across my books. So from collection number 1 to this most recent collection. So I'm going to move through about a decade of writing. And it's only going to be about 2 sonnets per book or so. And I myself am curious to see how they sound when put together. So book number 1 first, You Know Who You Are. And wrote much of this book in my mid-20s or so. And this poem is called Buffering. There's a bit of a difficulty here. As you can see, there are these buffering icons in the middle of the poem. So Buffering, a sonnet. The video quality is poor, so's the sound. The girl's mouth moves 2 seconds too late to keep up with her voice. A cityscape of cosmetics, perfume, and hairspray surrounds her. For a moon, a gold doorknob in the background. For 3 minutes, 17 seconds straight, she will rant on and on how much she hates excess body glitter. But somewhere around minute 2, the stream freezes. Buffering, freezes her eyes as they sink, her shocked mouth about to close on a word. And when it seems that she will be fenced in the webcam silent field forever, mouth open toward the devourer, her voice finds her and she blinks. Well, we've got better internet connections now than we did back in the mid-2000s, but still that happens. One more from You Know Who You Are. And again, like I said, I wrote most of this in my mid-20s, and there was this kind of passage from, how to put it, from like legal adulthood to like internal adulthood. And this poem is called Passage, and starts, kind of considers that, you know, that late mid-20s kind of feeling about becoming becoming yourself, right? Sort of stretching out into yourself. Passage. One spoon sometimes has to do. Just suck it clean between the eggs and the oatmeal. For dinner, cornflake crumbs. That is, if you want to eat at all. The undershirt can go another day or two. There's the radio for car music, despite the static through towns. Brakes that whine, but for the most part work, at least till now. Windshield for widescreen, backseat for love seat, remember for repeat. For the truth, memory will do, will have to. Crust of a melody, a burnt kiss, some cheek in your hand, but all that's done. Sometimes one spoon has to do the work of a knife. And student essays will have to sleep with you. And if you're lucky, get fresh about curfew. And you better get used to used clothes, used mirrors too, used mattresses, specially used words, whatever's cheap. Personals. So a few years later, I wrote this collection all about seeking connection and almost finding love and the failed attempts over the internet, which was promising to bring us all together and make us into a happy kumbaya hand-holding universe. And it didn't quite, but hey, Zoom sort of kept us together, right, during the COVID pandemic. And this collection starts off with about 10 almost sonnets in a poem called Rings. And they're almost sonnets because they end in this kind of ring. They're 13 lines and the poems don't end, right? They just kind of spin into these loops at the end. So in a sense, they're 13 lines and they're also infinite lines. And so I'll read a couple of poems from Rings. It's a poem that deals with infertility. Problem is, our armpits and crotches are feathered with cobwebs. Problem is, she leaks soft-boiled eggs, or I package seedless grapes. Problem is, her parents made us wait until they had crossed the width of my nose. Problem is, she had a migraine. Problem is, we did not want children. Problem is, we did not want each other until too late. Problem is, I can't be late for work in the morning. Problem is, this morning she says she dreamt she was holding a sandwich bag of crickets. Problem is, I am already late and listening to the weather. Problem is, we don't speak to the problem. Problem is, the school bus that stops in front of our townhouse just as I'm reversing. The problem is, we don't know who the problem is. We don't know who the problem is. We don't know who the problem is. We don't know who. There's going to be a line repeated in this poem. It's from Genesis. It's from Rachel begging her husband for children. Or we could get a Pekingese. Give me children or else I die. Or a Siamese cat. Give me children or else I die. Or we could redecorate with glass and steel and pointy corners in the best modern way. Give me children or else I die. Or else move to a cha-ching penthouse. Give me children or else I die. Or throw parties and serve canapes. Give me children or else I die. Or travel by train from farther to further every spring. Give me children or else I die. Or we could spend the evenings counting our gold. Give me children or else I die. Or become the cool aunt and uncle. Give me children or else I die. Or sponsor a child or buy a goat. Give me children or else I die. Or buy a hybrid or recycle more. Or run for shelter or feed the poor. Or bike for cancer or knit for preemies. Or else give me children or else give me children or else give me children or else. I so rarely read that poem, right? It's kind of need to dip back into your older work and not your most recent work. I'm buffering. Give me a moment here. Let's see. I'm going to jump to the new collection, Word Problems. And there are a couple of sonnets towards the end. It gets stranger the older I get, I think, right? 43. So this one is called Broad is the Way. And they're just the right length, right? Your attention can sort of dip in and out of them. And then we're on to the next one. Broad is the way. The boomers go boom, kaboom, kaboom, boom, kaboom, kaboom. Go from line 9 to 5 while you shadow them with a scythe. Teach sessional. Practice a marriage like foul shots. Read up on autism. Read Canada Reads. Take a postable vacation in Valencia or Icarus filter that leadeth to destruction. Or you echoed them. You sat at their chairs' airs and clucked at apple stock, bought a house in a market on one of Saturn's moons, streamed moonlight, la la, composted, posted, recycled, cycled to destruction. That is, this message will self-destruct in 4 lines. What will happen to your profile in 3, in the afterlife, assuming of course you have one, in 2, that is, after cancer swells music through you. Oh, my love, my darling, I've hungered for your touch that leadeth to destruction. So another sonnet in this book that I can't read it, and I think it's because, oh, there's the touch that I just read, just hungered for your touch. Do you see on this side of the page, all the emojis running down the side? I'm not going to try to read it, but it's on page 42 if you have the book. So last poem, okay, just one more. And this is, really bizarre one. Tell me when will be mine. Do you remember that song from Cuando, right? All right. This poem is called Tell Me When Will You Be Fine. He was of sound mind when he renamed himself Engelbert Humperdinck. Of all possible names for spitting images, is it possible to number one's imaginary? Children, go where I send you. Children, comma, go. 2, 3, 5, 7. Consecutively number your children optimistically prime. 3.14159 is a child of infinite conception to 5 places. I rename myself a fraction that sires a decimal, that Jack built, that recurs forever, that recedes forever. My child, the repeater, and I are not the same. My imaginary and I are facing viral mirrors. Born Arnold George Dorsey. Born Malcolm Little. Born Persia. Born Brad's drink. Born an unmarried woman. I'm going to stop there. Thank you. On to Diane.
Thank you, Ian, for the grace and continuing interest of your poetry. Love it a lot. And I do need to welcome now Diane Seuss, who was born in Indiana, raised in Michigan, and has spent time in many parts of the United States. She's the author of 5 books of poetry, including Four-Legged Girl, which was a finalist for the Pulitzer, and now this remarkable collection, Frank Sonnets, which is a memoir of sorts, sometimes funny, sometimes devastating, always in a box of 14 lines. And it's one of the most engaging books I've read in quite a while. There's a lovely interview in the Tupelo Quarterly where she speaks of how the book began at the tail end of a romantic entanglement and at the far west coast of the continent. And she describes the moment where stopping on a road back from Cape Disappointment when Frank O'Hara stepped into the poem. And how the sonnet form itself became such an enabling vehicle for her own memories and for her thinking about memory. Tracy Brimhall says it's a book to inhabit, to think alongside, to rage and to laugh with, to behold the ways in which beauty can be both a weapon and a relief. And we're very happy to have Diane with us here today, to rage and to laugh with, here at VERSeFest. Diane.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Are y'all hearing me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, first I want to thank Monty Reed for the gracious introduction and invitation, and Veronica for your help, and all the readers today, Sara, Ramon, Ian, Rodrigo, for brilliant, sweeping, language-focused song. So thank you so much. I feel really fortunate to be part of this intelligent, refreshing group of people. Okay, so I'm going to read sonnets from Frank Sonnets, and thank you very much for reminding me, Monty, what I was doing in this book. And I'll start with the opening poem that Monty referenced. I drove all the way to Cape Disappointment, but didn't have the energy to get out of the car. Rental, blue Ford Focus. I had to stop in a semi-public place to pee on the ground, just squatted there on the roadside. I don't know what's up with my bladder. I pee and then I have to pee and pee again. Instead of sightseeing, I climbed into the back seat of the car and took a nap. I'm a little like Frank O'Hara, without the handsome nose and penis and the New York school and Larry Rivers, paid for a day pass at Cape Disappointment, thinking hard about that long drop from the lighthouse to the sea. Thought about going into the Ocean Medical Center for a checkup. But how do I explain this restless search for beauty or relief? The problem with sweetness is death. The problem with everything is death. There really is no other problem if you factor everything down, which I was no good at when studying fractions. They were always using pi as their example. Rather than thinking about factoring things down, I wondered what kind of pi. And here I am, broke, barely able to count to 14. When people talk about math, they say you'll need it to balance your checkbook. What is a checkbook? And what indeed is balance? Speaking of sweetness, for a time I worked in a fudge shop on an island. After a week, the smell of sweetness made me heave, not to mention the smell of horses. It was an island without cars, shit everywhere. When I quit, the owner slapped me. The best is when you respond only to the absolute present tense. The rain, 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 and wind, an iridescent cloud. Another shooting, this time in a shopping mall in Germany. So this is why people want other people to put their arms around them. I will walk to the bay where there is a kind of peace, even emptiness. The barn swallows sharp flight and cry. Who now has the luxury of emptiness or peace? The beauty of thunder in a place where there is rarely thunder. The mind like a jackrabbit, bounding, bounding. My wet hair against my neck. Grandfather's barber shop, the lineup of hair tonics by color like a spectrum. The pool table removed to make a room for great grandma to live out her years. My father cutting a semicircle in her kitchen table so it would fit around the stovepipe. Rain, rain, fascism in America is loud. Poetry, the only father, landscape, moon, food. The bowl of clam chowder in Nakata, was I happy? Mountains of oyster shells, gleaming silver, poetry, the only gold, or is it? My breasts, feet, my hands, index finger, fingernail, hangnail, paper cut, what is divine? I drove to the sea, wandered aimlessly. I stared at my tree. I said in my mind, there's my tree. There's my tree, I said in my mind. I remember myself before words, thrilled at my parents' touch. Open milkweed with no agenda, blue the fluff, no reaching for comparison. To be free of signification, wriggle out of the figurative, itchy sweater. Body, breasts, vulva, little cave of the uterus, clit, need, touch, come. I came before I knew what coming was. Iambic pentameter. Did I feel it? Does language eclipse feeling? Does it eclipse the eclipse? I floated, I flew, I fell to earth to learn the pleasures of the lowdown, which meant sometimes going downtown to the Ready Theater to get my ticket punched by old Hook for a hand. I feared ambulances, janitors, knives, dogwood blossoms, my sister's boyfriends, one of whom threw a knife at my head, one of whom pressed his whiskers into my face and whispered things. My girlfriend's boyfriends, one of whom shot me in the bone behind my ear in a shooting gallery. My unspayed dog's periods, we put her in my sister's bikini underpants stuffed with a Kotex pad. The girl whose eyes were crossed, cowboy boots on the wrong feet. The birthmark girl, Dwight who saw through me, little S hit and killed by a Jeep on 13th Street. The guy who hit him, sticking his tongue in my mouth at an adult party. Jesus, the eschaton, which I learned from a well-read Jehovah's Witness was a synonym for the end of the world. My father resurrecting. My father not resurrecting. I feared, floating, flying, falling, the lowdown. Well, this takes a big leap into a period in my life when I lived in New York City. I was in my early 20s, and the poetry scene was not very pleasant for a young woman, let alone not anybody who wasn't a white man, basically. So this kind of describes that time. Yes, I saw them all, saw them, met some. Richard Hell, Lou Reed, Basquiat, Warhol, Burroughs, Kenneth Koch. And it all left me feeling invisible or fucked sideways, fucked by a John who stiffs you on your fee and doesn't leave a tip. It wasn't impressive. It wasn't literary. It wasn't titillating. I hope you are not titillated by it. Their loathing of women was indisputable, sometimes leaving genuine bruises, more often just a sneer or no eye contact, the eyes wandering off like dogs looking for something worth peeing on. Or rarely but potently, and maybe worst of all, something involving the word beautiful, weaponizing the word beautiful. Finally, I took a turn and made myself appalling. Like drag queens and anorexics, I did not want to be acceptable. I wanted to be alarming. Hulk, Colossus, freak. Maybe not a great life plan, but a step in the right direction. So I'll read two more poems, two more sonnets. A good hunk of the book, the middle of the book, is around my son's drug addiction. And this moves into that territory. Where is the drug to drug this feeling out of me? The drug to drug away the fear of drugs and what they steal from me or stole from me. Sometimes love and then my sanity. The frozen bowling ball that set up shop inside my gut and liked it there and never went away. I never went away for fear of losing what I left, which was itself a kind of hell. The hell of being terrified of swapping hell for hell. My son fucked up, rolled his car in dark Ohio, lay inside the ditch and listened to the crickets, even grass, he said to me. He could hear it growing and corn, all of it just trying to get by, as close as he could come, he said, to God. And I was such a fool, believing in fruition, stuck inside the fairy tale of resurrection. Even stars, he said, are trying to get by. And then he used for 10 more years and bankruptcy. And where's the melody to remedy the melody? The remedy to remedy the remedy. And I'll end with the last poem in the book. And I mentioned Frank O'Hara here in this last poem, who you probably all know, died young, age 40. He was hit by a Jeep on Fire Island. And let's see, I guess that's all you need to know. I hope when it happens, I have time to say, oh, so this is how it's happening. Unlike Frank, hit by a Jeep on Fire Island, but not like Dad, who knew too long, 6 goddamn years in a young man's life. So long it made a sweet guy sarcastic. I want enough time to say, oh, so this is how I'll go, and smirk at that last rhyme. I rhymed at times because I wanted to make something pretty, especially for Mikkel, who liked pretty things, soft and small things, who cried into a white towel when I hurt myself. When it happens, I don't want to be afraid. I want to be curious. Was Mikkel curious? I'm afraid by then he was only sad. He had no money left, was living on green oranges, had kissed all his friends goodbye. I kiss lips that kissed Frank's lips, though not for me a willing kiss. I willingly kissed lips that kissed Howard's deathbed lips. I happily kiss lips that kissed Basquiat's lips. I know a man who said he kissed lips that kissed lips that kissed lips that kissed lips that kissed Whitman's lips. Who will say of me, I kissed her? Who will say of me, I kissed someone who kissed her? Or I kissed someone who kissed someone who kissed someone who kissed her. Okay, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Diane, for the unflinching, constantly curious, and deeply moving poems. That's great. And I want to say thank you to everyone who read today. It's the way I hoped it would be, with a great variety, but tremendously conscious poetry about the world that we're in. And I certainly appreciate, and VERSeFest certainly appreciates your participation and the readings you've given here today. I do say thank you to all the people who've signed on and all the people who are listening on our YouTube channel, and also to the people who will pick us up online after this date. We do have a little bit of time. If there are questions or comments, put them up on chat, and we'll see if we can respond to them. But really, my only comment at this point is one of gratitude. Thank you for being here.